Parents kicked me out of the house when I was 6 months pregnant, because my golden child sister wanted an extra room for her new business. 5 years later they want my help. But my response left them devastated. 5 years ago, I, 29 now, 24 back then, got pregnant with my ex-boyfriend's baby. In the beginning, everything was going well. But 5 months into the pregnancy, he abandoned me. We had been living together at the time, and one day, I just woke up to a note from him saying that he wasn't ready for fatherhood and he couldn't be with me anymore. And that was it. He ghosted me, but I made sure that I got child support. Unfortunately, the child support paychecks would only start coming in after I had my baby. So, I couldn't afford to stay in the house that we had been renting on my own because I also needed to save since I knew that the child support that my ex would be paying was not going to be enough to cover everything. After all, both of us were pretty young, so I was quite worried about how things were going to turn out. I spoke to my parents about it, and since I was in my 6th month, they told me that I didn't need to go looking for apartments or houses and that I could move in with them, and I was very grateful for it because they were letting me stay with them rent-free. I had to pay for utilities and groceries, but that was fine. For about 3 weeks, I stayed with them. But then that came to an abrupt end as well. And that was all thanks to my golden child of a sister, 25 now, 20 back then. She had always been a spoiled brat. And she had made up her mind that she was not going to waste her time in college and she was going to make something of herself. What that was, nobody had any clue. Since she mostly stayed locked up in her room and she relied on our parents for everything, she was not financially independent and she had had at least 2 failed businesses by then, but my parents still supported her and had full faith in her just because she seemed to be a good student back when she was in school. I don't know what happened to that, but anyway, I knew that she didn't like me coming back home, so I really should have seen it coming when she got me kicked out. She and I never really got along. And when I moved back home pregnant, she made it a point to taunt me about it every single chance that she got. And I ignored her because we were not kids anymore. And I didn't want to go picking fights with her. My parents never seemed to take note of it either. So, I knew that there was no point in protesting, but I never knew that she would do something so extreme because just within a couple of weeks of me moving in, my parents sat me down and told me that it was time for me to leave because they needed the room that I was staying in since my sister was planning on starting another business and she needed a warehouse for inventory. And right now, since they didn't have the funds to rent a place, they were going to empty my room and they were going to use that as a temporary warehouse. Her revolutionary idea was selling trendy jewelry and accessories online. Basically, stuff that you find on Pinterest. And she was not even making those herself. She was basically just a glorified reseller with an Instagram page, and that was her whole business idea, but my parents wanted to support her. So, even though I was pregnant, I needed a place to stay. They told me that I should be supportive of my sister and I could always stay with a friend, but she needed this and I had to vacate the house. It came as a huge shock to me because I never thought that their favoritism would go to such lengths. We got into a pretty bad fight over this and in the end I packed up all my stuff that day itself and ended up moving in with a friend of mine. Obviously I couldn't expect to stay there rent-free, but thankfully my friend was kind enough to split the rent 60-40 instead of the usual 50-50. For a while I was quite upset about all of this and I completely stopped speaking to my parents. They continued to try and reach out to me for a couple of months. But after that, when they did not receive any response from me, they stopped trying as well. And for the past 5 years, we've not spoken to each other. I guess with time, I forgot about them and moved on with my life. And they stopped caring about me. Not that they had cared much in the first place. Anyway, lots of things have changed in the past couple of years and I'm in a much better place now. I'm even married and coincidentally, I think getting kicked out and moving in with my friend was the best move of my life because that's how I met her brother. It took me a lot of time to get over my ex because we had been together since college. So, that was a lot of years, and the way he had just disappeared on me was really hurtful. Plus, I had my daughter to think about, so dating was off the table for me for a good few years. However, he never gave up on me. My friend and I had been close since college, so I had seen her brother a couple of times. But when I moved in with her, I started seeing him more frequently because he would often visit and sometimes crash on our couch. When he asked me out the first time 3 years back, I declined because it was just too soon. But like I said, he didn't give up. And within 6 months, I had agreed to go out with him. And after that, things went pretty fast. We got married earlier this year, and of course, my family was not invited, but I did have a couple of relatives over, so I know that they knew about my wedding, but they didn't bother to reach out to me. It was not surprising because they didn't bother to do that even when my daughter was born. So, I wasn't expecting anything from them this time. I had pretty much given up all hope of us ever reconciling. But then couple of days back, I received an email from my mom. She congratulated me on the baby and the wedding and told me that she was really proud of the life that I had built for myself and that she and my father wanted to reconcile with me because she felt like we had spent enough time being mad at each other and being egoistic, but now it was time to put everything in the past and just make amends for everything that had gone wrong. I was quite suspicious about that email because it had come out of the blue and it was really unlike my parents to just apologize. So I decided to go digging because I know that there must be something going on with them. Apparently my parents were in a lot of financial trouble. As expected, my sister's business had not worked out well. And in the past few years, she tried her hand at a few more businesses, which have also flopped. But my parents never seemed to realize that betting on her was a bad idea, and they just kept investing money into everything that she asked them to. And most recently, she had tried to start a real estate agency. And this time things went pretty bad. They put a lot of money on the line for her. And as expected, she had no idea what she was doing. So they lost it all. So my parents have been telling everyone about how much trouble they're in, and they've been expecting help from the family to bail them out, which is fine by me, but they have no right to expect anything at all from me. And after speaking to my cousin, I put 2 and 2 together pretty quickly. They must have gone through my social media account and they also must have seen that my husband is doing pretty well for himself. It's a pretty recent development, but my husband received a pretty big promotion around the time that we got engaged and we ended up splurging a bit on the wedding and we have also purchased a house more recently. It's a pretty beautiful house in a nice neighborhood. So, I guess my parents didn't waste any time on reaching out to me in their times of trouble because they think that my husband and I are going to help them out. Well, that's not happening. And I've made up my mind that I'm not going to reply to that email. And I was not having any sort of second thoughts about it until I spoke to my husband about all of it. And well, he had a different opinion. Basically, when I told him about all of this, he said that he had his doubts about their true intentions given the circumstances. And he told me that I'm not wrong to be doubting them. But he still told me to just give it a thought and not just outright reject their attempt to get back in touch with me because they might actually be interested in reconciling without any of this having anything to do with money. Now, I just want to make it clear. It's not like he was pressuring me to respond to my parents. He just gave me a different perspective. And the problem is that now I can't stop thinking about it because at the end of the day, they are still my parents no matter what has happened. And I don't want to be upset with them forever. They're not going to be around forever. And that's something that I'm scared of. So, I'm kind of confused about what to do. To be honest, I still feel like it's about the money and they don't actually want to reconcile with me. They just want our financial help. But on the off chance that it's really not about that, I think I'll feel very guilty if I end up not responding and the situation turns out to be different than what I had presumed it to be. I'm just very confused. Ida for believing that my parents only want to reconcile with me because they want to get financial support from me and my husband? Edit. I've been getting a lot of questions about this in particular, whether I've never seen my parents at all in the past 5 years, even at weddings and birthdays and anniversaries, family events like that. And in short, the answer is yes. Of course, we have run into each other at places, but we have always made it through these events without speaking to each other. They've never acknowledged my existence, and neither have I done that for them. In fact, whenever I knew that they were going to be at some event that I was attending, I made it a point to not even look at them. Last time I saw them was at a cousin's engagement party, and that was almost a year ago. Since then, we haven't run into each other. And even back then, we maintained our distance from one another, and before this, there have been absolutely no attempts by them to get back in touch with me. In my post, I had mentioned that for a couple of months after they kicked me out of the house, they tried to reason with me and convince me to talk to them, but when I did not respond, they stopped talking. And since then, we haven't spoken. So, I guess now it should make sense to people why I find their behavior so suspicious. The timing of it all is just really weird. Update 1. So, I'm back. I've contemplated everything for a couple of days and I have decided I'm not going to respond to that email for now at least. I don't think I should because clearly they are going through a very tough time and I'm not sure of their intentions. Besides, I'm pretty happy with my life right now. So, I don't feel obliged to respond to them. I did think about everything my husband had said and maybe there might be a small chance that they are not reaching out to me for money, but honestly, I don't buy that. They've had 5 years to get in touch with me. And even in the comments of my original post, everybody pointed out to me that if they had never bothered to get in touch with me in the past 5 years, then it was definitely quite suspicious that they were only trying to reconcile with me right now when they knew they were in trouble and they knew for a fact that we were in a good place financially and would be able to help them out. So, thank you so much to everybody who commented and just confirmed whatever I had been thinking about because I had actually been feeling like a terrible person for thinking this way about my own family. However, I don't think that I'm wrong because these people did not have a heart when they kicked me out when I was 6 months pregnant with my baby. So, I don't think they'll have a heart now. I might forgive them in the future if I think their apology is genuine and is coming from a good place, but right now I'm not sure of it, so I don't want to take any risks. I communicated my decision to my husband as well, and he was totally fine with it and told me that after all, these are my parents, so it was my call since I would obviously know them better. He had only thought that it was appropriate to share his perspective on things with me, and that's why he had done so. And I just want everyone to know that his intention was never to make me feel guilty or anything. Even though there were a couple of comments that I went through which thought that he might have been trying to manipulate me in their favor or something. But rest assured folks, that's not what was happening. Anyway, that's my decision for now. And again, thank you to everyone who commented. Update 2. So, it's been a week and a half since I received that email from my mom. And because I haven't replied to her yet, she decided to send me another one. This one was much longer. And in it, she said that she had sent another email before this, but she was not sure if I had received it or not because I did not reply to it. And a considerable amount of time had passed. So, she was going to assume that I must have either missed it or had chosen not to reply, in which case she would be quite disheartened. Then, she went on to tell me that she really wanted to talk to me and both she and my father wanted to make things right with me because 5 years had passed now and they had never seen my daughter, their granddaughter, and neither had they met their son-in-law. So, they believed that it was about time that we put our differences behind us and try to move forward because holding on to past grudges was only going to cause us more pain. Maybe that was true, but then again, I'm not sure of her intention. So, I don't really know what to do now. In her email, she also mentioned that my father's health has apparently been declining gradually, and he thinks that it's high time that we sort out our differences, lest something were to happen to him and he never got the opportunity to make things right with me. And I have to say that's a pretty scary thought, and I don't think that they're lying because my father does have a heart condition. And on my dad's side of the family, there definitely is a history of heart problems. So, I don't know. I don't want to be the kind of daughter who doesn't seem to care about her parents. But right now, I don't know if I should talk to them or not. And especially with the news of my father's health, I don't know what to believe anymore. It has put me in a very difficult position, to be very honest. And even though I've spoken to my husband about it, he's in just as much of a dilemma about this as I am. Both of us are pretty confused and we are trying to figure out a way to deal with the situation at hand, but we don't know what to do. So, I'm posting about it here because I think any and all sort of advice is welcome right now. So, please, if you guys can think of anything, comment or reach out or whatever and let me know. I haven't really spoken to anybody about all of this in the family because then I would have to share my concerns about them trying to get in touch with us only for the money, and I don't think I want to badmouth them since that will only create drama and won't lead to anything good. So, I'm trying to keep this to ourselves for now. And well, of course, I'm posting about it here, but since it's anonymous, I don't think it will matter that much. Update 3. Okay, so something crazy happened today. It's been 4 days since my last update since I received that second email from my mother. And because I had not responded to that either, I guess they decided to take matters into their own hands and showed up at my workplace. They knew where I worked. It's on my LinkedIn profile, so it was not that hard for them to figure it out. Anyway, while I was working today, just a couple of minutes before lunchtime, I received a call from the receptionist, and she's the one who informed me that my parents were here to see me. Obviously, most people would assume that this was something that I would be happy about because nobody at my workplace knows about my strained relationship with my parents. So, I had to make sure that nobody noticed that I was shocked and angry that they had shown up here, and I had to force myself to smile at them in the lobby. Anyway, eventually I got them to agree to go out with me for lunch. But that was not because I was being gracious or anything. I just wanted them out of my workplace and away from it so I could talk to them in person without giving any of my coworkers the impression that I did not get along with them. I mean, I didn't get along with them, but that was not something for them to know. So, once we were out of sight of anybody from the office and seated in a restaurant just a little distance away from my office building, I got down to business. I dropped all pretenses and I made it very clear to them that what they had done today was not okay. They had not consulted with me before coming here, and this was not a welcome surprise. I told my mom that I had received both her previous emails and my husband and I were contemplating what to do, and I was very blunt with her as well about why exactly my husband and I had our reservations regarding the two of them. I told them that I knew about their financial troubles and that's why I had been holding out on responding to them, because I wanted to make sure that they were not just trying to reconcile with me because they needed financial support and they knew that they were not getting anything out of my sister, the daughter that they had favored for so long. I did not mince my words at all because I was in a really foul mood. They had no right to show up at my work, especially after everything that had gone down. I still remember every single detail of the fight we had when they kicked me out of the house while I was pregnant. And the fact that they hadn't done anything to fix that in the past 5 years, which had also stayed with me. These are not things that people can forget so easily. And seeing them in person once again, that just brought all of these things back to the surface and I couldn't hold back anymore. Anyway, after I had explained to them exactly why I did not respond to their emails, my father looked humiliated, but my mom did not seem that affected. She told me that since we were not holding back, she would like to tell me that I was completely right and that was definitely a part of the reason why they had reached out to me. She said that they had apparently been planning on doing this anyway, not just recently, but for quite some time, but they had no idea how to go about it. However, because of their recent financial troubles, they were forced to make this decision of getting in touch with me. But they didn't mention the money in the beginning itself because they did not want to make it seem like they were just interested in the finances and nothing else. It was ironic that they didn't want to look like that even though it was exactly like that. They just cared about the appearance of the situation, not about the core of it. Anyway, I told them not to waste their time because I had already made up my mind. I had no intention of helping them out. I know that I can help them and so can my husband. But these are the consequences of all the bad choices that they have made over the years with regards to my sister. So now they have to face it. They cannot expect me to bail them out because when I needed them, they kicked me out. They never looked back and had any second thoughts or any remorse about it. And even in the months following our fight, they would only reach out to me to justify what they had done, but not apologize. I told them that I was never going to forgive or forget that. So there was nothing that I had to say to them anymore. And that was it. I did not say anything after that, and after a couple of minutes of silence I guess my parents figured out that our little reunion was over. So they covered their portion of the restaurant bill and they left, and I took half the day off and came back home because I really was not in the mood to go back to work anymore. I don't want to bother my husband while he's at work. So I'm waiting for him to come back home, and when he does I'm going to talk to him about everything that happened. But for now, I just feel good to get it all off my chest by sharing it here. Thank you to everyone who's read my post. Update 4. Hey, so it's been a month since I met my parents, and after that, they didn't try to contact me anymore. So, I was quite relieved because I didn't want anything to do with them since they had proven that they didn't want anything to do with me either. They just wanted the financial support to bail them out of the situation they were in, and I was not doing that. So there was no need for them to ask me to forgive them anymore. I thought that they would let it go, but clearly not, because after that meeting, they literally told everyone in the family that I had called them to meet me, saying that I would like to reconcile. And then when they had actually shown up, I had humiliated them and said that I knew that they needed money and I could definitely support them if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. And basically, I rubbed their failure into their faces. And I think it's a really twisted interpretation of what happened because in the first place I never called them to meet me. I never even responded. They are the ones who showed up expecting me to help them out and reconcile. And I didn't even have to rub their faces in their failure. I think they are doing that themselves right now because by speaking about what happened and lying about it, they're just making themselves look bad since nobody is really buying that version of the story. Everyone has reached out to me to try and confirm it because everyone's been shocked that I would do something like this since it doesn't really seem like something I would do. And obviously, I've clarified to everyone that that's not really what happened. I've told everyone the truth. People believe me too because they know what kind of person I am. So, it's really just reflecting badly on my parents, not me. I also find it very sad and pathetic that even though we had been able to avoid speaking about this in public for so long, they are now going out of their way to air their dirty laundry just because they want sympathy from the family. To think that all their problems might have been solved by just being kind to me in the past is really sad. But they chose not to do that. So now they'll have to deal with the consequences. I don't feel bad for them at all. Neither do I feel bad for my sister. I'm sure she's struggling as well, but I don't really care anymore. They deserve each other, and I'm happy that I'm out of reach for that family. Update 5. Hi everybody. So, I'm really happy to inform you guys that my husband and I are expecting. It's been a year and it's been a crazy one at that. The rest of my family pretty much cut my parents and my sister off. Not because they were asking and expecting everyone to help them out financially, but because they have been lying about me, trying to get people to turn against me, and it didn't work. So now, nobody really talks to my parents and my sister with the exception of a handful. And I'm pretty sure that even they just do it out of pity. My parents reached out to me once again recently when I made the announcement of my pregnancy on social media. And I'm guessing that somebody must have let them know. Once again, they said that they would like to put things in the past and try and reconcile, but there's no way that that's happening. This time it might be genuine, But I don't really care about that because after everything that they've said about me to the rest of the family in the past year, they must be delusional to think that I'm going to let them back into my life. They went on bad-mouthing me and trying to get the family to turn against me. And now they want to be friendly with me because I have another baby on the way. Well, hard pass. This is not going to work. I have chosen my family already, and it's my husband and my daughter and the new baby, and that's all I need. I don't need them in my life. I'm happy and better off without them for sure.